All right, we're going to start.
Pardon me, Madam Chair. Thank you. So what do you need?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the workshop of interviewing the potential managers. Today is Tuesday, January 6, 2026, and the time is 6:08 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please take roll call?
Commissioner Chernoff,
Here.
Commissioner Florimon, Commissioner Jean,
Here.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Sue,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fortuna Smuggler,
Present.
Mayor Michael Joseph. Thank you.
Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have three of the candidates here today. One is out of town, and we will hold another workshop tomorrow at 6 for the other candidate. We are going to ask that the three that are here today, we are going to sequester them. We're going to ask them not to use their cell phones, their smartwatches, just talk to each other like the good old days, right? So we are also going to have someone pick. There's three names right here. We're going to ask Mr. Kazan to come up and pick the order. Would you like to pick the order?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just as a note, as you requested, we're asking the candidates to sequester themselves so they can't hear. And just as a note, since we have one who is not coming, because he's away out of town, but we should contact that individual also and request him to not watch the recording or the live stream or something, so he's in the same position. I mean, I don't know how we would know, but if it's a person who's honorable, they'll honor the request, but we should request them not to watch.
Right.
So someone should
Mr.
take it.
Kazan, you can do the other two.
One more. One more?
Yes. So the first person up is going to be Marlene Manestein.
And the next one would be Darvin Williams.
Darvin Williams. Right.
Just to make sure the name was there. Rasha.
All right. And Rasha. All right. So if they want to listen to what we're going to do before we sequester them, and I have an idea, and I want to see if my fellow commissioners agree with it. So the goal, of course, not to just interview them, but also to get out at a timely manner. So I was thinking, we're gonna, for example, the first round of questions, I'll start with Commissioner Smith, and then we'll go to Commissioner Jean, Sue, Chernoff. The next time around, we'll go Jean, Sue, Chernoff, and Smith. So everybody
Well,
has.
you too.
Well, I'll be last. But so that way everybody has an opportunity to ask a question first. Is everybody okay with that so far?
That's a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
are we going to ask the same question to every candidate?
I would hope that we be fair and ask the same question to every candidate. I think that's the best for all of them, to be fair.
So once the candidates actually, leave the room, we can discuss like which topics we're going to talk about, so we're not repeating each other?
I was going to ask that we're not repetitive, but we could, we can just start like with Commissioner Smith and then hope that Commissioner Jean has more than one question in case she's being repetitive and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm also asking that we do 5 minutes with each person, and then we go back to another round if we want to ask.
5 minutes?
5 minutes each person. Each of us, 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Each of us.
Oh, with our question.
With our question and answer, and then if up to 5 minutes, and then if everybody wants to ask a second round of question, another up to 5 minutes.
How long are you giving for the total interview for each candidate? Is it 30 minutes?
well, we're 5 people, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Five would be, give them a brief opening, a minute to close, and 5 of you, if
Right.
you'll go the full 5 minutes, that's 25. So if you give them 3 minutes to open and a minute to close, that's a half an hour
Yeah.
each. And if you're a couple minutes
Yep.
past, it's probably not an issue.
Give or take a few.
Madam Chair, are
Yes.
you thinking about having them introduce themselves in a short, like?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
no, but I heard you say 5 minutes, so I.
No, no, no.
3 minutes for them to introduce
Got it.
themselves.
Okay,
Up
sorry,
to,
I was.
up to 3, up to 3 minutes.
I don't know, through the chair, I don't know that we should say that in stone. If we need in a couple extra minutes, we need a couple extra minutes. I just don't know that we should say.
You're roughly 30 minutes. I mean, if it's 32 or 33, the world will still revolve.
Right.
Oh, no, well, that's what I'm saying.
Right. We just don't want
But
to.
yeah, if we want to vote on it, if we need to vote on it,
No,
we
we're
can
not.
vote on it. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay.
All right.
So is all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's a workshop. You're
It's a
not
workshop.
voting,
I'm
but
gonna
you can
vote
all
on it.
nod your
I'm gonna
heads.
vote.
If you have a consensus, then and nobody objects.
Okay.
But you're not
All
voting
right. So
to work.
let's start. So if you could sequester. Jacob, did you want to say something? Okay. So Marlene Manestein, would you like to come up?
Thank you.
And clerk, you'll use the timer, correct? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Let the record note Commissioner Flormont's attendance.
Noted.
And do you
All
want to
right.
go over what we decided? Did you
It's
hear?
just
Okay.
He'll figure it out.
3-minute introduction, 5 minutes per commissioner for questions, a minute to close, and if you're a couple minutes past the half hour, no tragedy.
Well, 5 minutes per commissioner and then another round if they choose to ask another question. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
but you can't go an hour per candidate.
No,
Then you have-
that's why we need to keep it at 5 minutes. Okay. Marlene?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Marlene Monesteem. I have the privilege of serving as the Chief of Staff for the city,
Andres, start the clock.
as well as the Interim Assistant City Manager. I've been with the city for approximately 4 years now, and in this time, I've served as the CRA Specialist, Economic Development Specialist, then the Chief of Staff for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was with the City of North Miami, where I served as the Assistant to the Director in the Community Planning Department. And in that department, I got to be exposed to quite a few divisions, economic development, housing and social services, planning, zoning, and sustainability. And to me, I like to think of community development as a pulse of the city. And so though we have a lot of departments that are very important, you get a different type of exposure in that type of space, because you see developers who walk in with multi-million-dollar deals, but then you also see the day-to-day person who has challenges paying their rent. And so I think being exposed in that space for about 5.5 years I was there, there was a growth in myself that I experienced that I can't really explain, except to say that I love what I do, always willing and able to be of service to the community. And I think this is the reason why I decided to apply for the position, just to be able to move in the direction of an administrator and really see the things that you all set in policy into place. In addition, did want to add that I have my master's in disaster management from FIU, and as well as a bachelor's in administration. I think also just being exposed to the elements and us being in a coastal city, there's a lot of unique opportunities to learn about how we can be more resilient. And so I did get certification in floodplain management, which I like to contribute to the city as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Andres, is the clock not working?
It's set for 5 minutes, so I was timing her,
Oh,
the candidate on my phone.
all right.
So she's
All right,
good.
thank you. Okay, so Commissioner Smith?
Okay, so I'm going to ask one question and then move on. So my first question that I like to ask is, what do you, Ms. Montesine, plan on doing different from the very first day in reference to administration accountability, production, growth, the things that I see very lacking in our city now? What do you plan to do different that we can count on, that we'll be able to not only feel it, but see it?
Thank you for the question. So for me, I walk in a mindset of being very analytical. I chose to get a disaster management master's, not because I'm interested in doing things with FEMA or working in that space day to day, but really, I didn't want to take the general route where everyone chooses public administration and maybe even business administration. But the master's that I chose is a field that requires you to think through risks and to think through opportunities to improve. That's kind of been who I have been since, my start. I always am looking for ways to improve things. In our particular case, I think the city's done a good job in pushing things along, rather sometimes slower than others. But in this case, I think we have a great team. I'd want to see, for lack of better words, ripping the bandage, because there's a few things that I've noticed in the weeds that I am in day to day that we need to improve on. First being a budget amendment. I think we spent a lot of money in this fiscal year from the fund reserves. I, did participate in the budget process later on in the process. And so I made recommendations that I think should be revisited because we should be more fiscally responsible. So that's one of the top things that I would be looking at. In addition to that, as I kind of explained in the Housing and Economic Development Department establishment, there are departments that have maybe too much staff doing the same things where we can focus more on automation. And so eliminating some of the costs on the personnel side would be something that I'd like to explore as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, you're finished?
One question, and then we're going to go down. And
Okay.
coming back.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Formond?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you so much for making yourself available to apply for this position. And we appreciate your time. Based on what you said to Commissioner Smith's question about positions, are you referencing redundancy in positions? And if you're referencing redundancy in positions, are you looking at ways that those same employees can be utilized better, or what is your aspect or approach, I should say, to looking at positions that are redundant?
Absolutely. So in part, we have, for example, the building department that has a lot of permit processors, but we also have some automation in place and some software that we have developed and included in our process to alleviate the permit applicants. There are quite a few people in buildings, is just a random example, as there are in other departments where I feel that we can really assess personnel, see where they are in terms of their skill levels, what are they willing to learn, if anything new, so that we can focus on other departments that lack staff. A lot of the conversation, at least from the commission, is that we don't have enough code compliance or we don't have enough beautification efforts, and that requires more personnel. So I think being able to really analyze the organization as a whole and looking for opportunities to give not only our staff opportunity, but fill the gaps in service that we have would be prime and ideal. That's one of the things I would look at to do.
Okay. As far as our strategic plan, I think that's something that's so critical to where this municipality moves forward. I think in my seat, it's not about necessarily new ideas, but it's about really accomplishing the things that we said we would accomplish, right? Because there's so many things that are on the list. And so have you taken a look at that strategic plan, and what are your ideas about how we can accomplish those things that we've set out in the past years that have yet to be done?
So I appreciate you bringing that question forward. I wholeheartedly agree. I actually had a one-on-one conversation with Commissioner Jean recently, and one of the things that she mentioned was, we're not other cities, and we already have an identity that we need to hone in on. And so some of the things that I would like to implement would not be reinventing or stopping and then restarting the clock. We have momentum. We have, quite a robust capital improvements program. We have staff that have been, doing the work nonstop, including our water plant. So it's just a matter of continuing the work, but improving how we do it so that we get to the finish line together.
All right. Commissioner Jean?
Thank you so much. And again, congratulations on being a candidate here tonight. The first question would be, within your first 90 days, what would be some of the things that you would want to implement?
So I actually got that question earlier this morning in my first interview. It was 100 days, so I'll give the same answer because I feel like a 10-day difference would still allow me to accomplish a few things. Priority, again, for me would be a budget amendment. I think we put in too much into this fiscal year without realizing our threats already. As you all know, the water surcharge is an issue. How we use our funds now, God forbid the property taxes is, not a thing that happens. So that's another opportunity for us to look at how we're spending and ways that we can be bringing in more revenue into the city. So top priority, I think, is the budget amendment. I think being fiscally responsible, we still have room that we can do that. In addition to that, I mentioned organizational reassessment, just putting the right people in the right spaces and giving other opportunities to personnel who want to explore those things. And lastly, I would say beefing up what the residents complain about the most. It's beautification and it's code compliance. So with your support, of course, putting people in a position and recreating programs where we're focusing on those things would be priority in the first 90 days.
Thank you. How long have you spent in the city manager's office?
It's been about 3 years. I started off in the PSA building when I was in the CRA for 4 months. Then that came with a lateral move to economic development specialist when the city parted the CRA from the city. That was serving in 8 months, but still within that time frame, I was able to move over into the city manager's office. He wanted economic development directly under the city manager's office, and since then have been exposed not just to that, but to other facets, which more align with the chief of staff role.
Awesome. The follow-up question to that is, outside of economic development, what systems would you say you've put in place that you can see have been able to improve the city moving forward? Obviously, you were not in that top seat, but were there any initiatives or things that you wanted to see or did start that we may not have been aware of?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have my hand in so many things as chief of staff, and it really wasn't about me wanting to push a certain, idea or program. I think just off the top of my head, being able to secure funding for the NMB Jazz Academy, that was an external and private funding source. And, now we have students that are really engaged and looking at a youth program that can expand far out to what it started to be. Again, with Snowfest, we elevated that experience for our residents. We secured $15,000 for gifts for kids. And so, those things come like second nature to me. I think if anyone would ask, I would say anyone in the city manager's office the question, like what I did, they'd say that I created space for efficiency. I tell them all the time, whether it's communications, or economic development, there's ways that we can improve on how we're delivering our services with better quality. I always have an eye for that. I think one of my other examples would be the clerk's office and the agenda process, being able to really make more sense of it and have checks and balances so that things that come before you have less, error and are more efficient in how they're presented.
Thank you. And my last question would be pertaining to ARPA. I know when Mr. Diaz was here, that was something that him and I would always talk about. How do you hope to kind of be able to decipher through what it is, especially with us having to provide a report at the end of this year? How does that look like for you to be at the helm of untying where we are with it now?
So thank you. I appreciate that question because I've, imagined that there's a lot of questions about where we are and our standing with ARPA. I, was given the task of assisting the manager, presenting the items before you all, you vote on them, and then they go back to finance for finance to do some inputting into our system. More recently, I'd say since our application deadline, which was December 31st, 2024, we've continued to provide quarterly reports that's required. But in addition to that, there is a review that we did with our consultants. I asked that the consultant recalculate our revenue loss. We elected, when we received the funds, to choose the 10 million basic allowance for revenue loss. That ended up being a bit of an issue for the city because, there were, in the second phase, there were projects that the departments were submitting that didn't necessarily align with the final rule provided by the Treasury. That meant that, for example, if someone wanted to buy vehicles and we couldn't categorize buying vehicles, then we would have potentially have to pay those funds back. So with the request of me and speaking with the finance team and our consultant, they recalculated our revenue loss and identified that all of the funds that we received, $21.5 million, could be categorized in that sense. So that ended up being that, there's no need to repay any funds back because we've recognized here's a category that we're eligible to put all of our projects under. We have until the end of this year to complete our projects. So that's something I definitely want to ensure that we see through so that we don't leave any money on the table. This is not a funding source that'll come back to us. So just to be able to make sure that those projects are completed in time.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sue?
Thank you, and thank you for applying for this position. We're currently in a structural deficit. So our current budget identified a 5.5 million structural operating deficit that we're currently covering by spending down reserves. Simultaneously, we have a surplus in our building fund, but state law restricts that those specific funds could be used. Since we cannot legally transfer building funds money to bail out the general fund, what is your specific 12-month roadmap to close the 5.5 million operational gap before we hit the fiscal cliff in 2028?
I think I touched on that a little, so
Yeah,
I appreciate the question. As far as our gap, we need to create opportunities where we have more revenue. We're identifying other revenue sources. In addition to looking at the expenditures that we're projecting and reducing those, I think that
Time.
would be priority for me. In addition to the building surplus.
Can you be more specific?
Sorry.
Can you be more specific? It was a kind of a
Yeah.
generality.
So sure.
Like, what are the things that you would like to cut?
Well, yeah, that would be an exercise of going through your entire budget book, which
Did we do that in September?
I did provide some recommendations that were not submitted to you all. So I would be expressing those things just to reach. I want to say it was a 2.2 million just in the first exercise that I did, opportunity to keep funds in the reserves. I think looking back at it now, also implementing a freeze on hiring so that we can really assess our organizational structure, then would be able to, look at all of the avenues where we can cut on expenses. But as far as revenues are concerned, we recently established our grants management division. We are more organized in how we are tracking the grants, but then also identifying new opportunities to secure them as well.
Okay. What do you see as permanent fixes for these kinds of expenditures?
It really would fall on the commission being able to, really take heed. And someone as myself, like I said, ripping the bandage is not a problem for me. We need to be real in where we are. I will be very, I'm probably not popular if I say this, but I don't mind it. We have departments, random example would be the library, where you fund, and the services are provided and they're great quality library experience. But I also think that there's ways that we can cut back and maybe look at other funding sources and not tap too much into the general fund so that we can maintain ourselves, but still provide quality service to our residents.
Okay. So my next question is NMB Water. Is a regional utility acting as an enterprise business that serves far more customers outside the city than it does inside? This creates a tension. Our residents want revenue transferred to keep their taxes low, while regional customers and regulators demand an aggressive reinvestment in infrastructure. How do you plan to balance the capital improvement projects to prevent infrastructure failure while defending the utility against political pressure to strip its budget for general fund needs?
I appreciate that question as well. I think our capital improvements program, if I'm not mistaken, is at $109 million, not to be spent in one fiscal year, but across a few years. And so reprioritizing based on, the commission directives and the critical need of our infrastructure, I think that's something that would be ideal. We would need to identify, of all the things that are happening, in all the tough spaces that we're in, be it, roofs are leaking or we need to do septic to sewer conversion or whatever the things are, it would be a matter of having, an executive session, having conversations with you all, with the experts in the room to also identify how we should proceed, so that we're more responsible in how we're spending those funds.
Okay.
You're good.
I have another question, and this is,
1401.
it was 5 minutes, no?
5 minutes.
Oh,
Okay. North Miami Beach has a
Good.
passionate, we have a passionate commission, as you can see, that often has split votes on critical strategic issues. If the commission gives you a directive based on a narrow 4-3 vote, how do you ensure the policy is executed enthusiastically by staff without alienating the 3 commissioners who voted against it?
I appreciate that question as well. I think I have a very good rapport with each of you. I pride myself in being someone who's focused on doing the work. If the directive is we need to move forward with something, then enthusiastically it'll be done. That's our mission. That's what we do. And ultimately, I think the relationship that you all have, I'd like to support in ensuring you that you may not agree on everything, but I would at least hope that in how we interact, everyone is on the same page and is aware of what's transpiring, so we're on the same page.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chernoff.
I'm going to respect it and only ask one, because that's the way we should have done it. Okay.
You said 5 minutes.
Congratulations.
You said up to 5 minutes.
The state legislature is trying to take away property tax 100%. How are you going to handle that if they do?
I think, being the fact that there was a little bit of pushback on establishing a housing and economic development department, this is prime example of why it really makes sense we need to look at opportunities where we can generate revenue. Economic advantages need to be explored thoroughly. You need an expert staff person to do that, that has the data, that can identify funding sources, that can look at your assets and help you take your asset and make more money from it. Your water plant makes you a lot of money, right? But it's its own funding enterprise source. But then you have other assets here that are sort of neglected, that we could take more advantage of. Your Littman Theater being one, your parks facilities being others. There's plenty of ways to explore how we can generate revenue, whether it be our special assessments, some sort of local business tax, which is also up in the air. But exploring all of those things would come from your economic development department.
Thank you.
All right, my turn. I have been here, first of all, thank you for applying. I have been sitting on the dais for a little over 7.5 years. I have been through 4 managers and 3 interim managers. So whoever gets chosen would be the 5th manager. What made you decide to want to be in a job with statistically no job security, and what makes you different? Why are you going to be here for at least 5 years?
Very good question. I'm someone who shows up. I think that's been presented to you all day to day. I have no fear of stepping up to the plate, whether it's, the conversation with ARPA, whether it's, showing up to work on early and then leaving late. Like I'm fully engulfed in North Miami Beach, though I don't even live here. I patron all the businesses. This is just something that I feel I do. I'm someone who stays. I think my resume will reflect that as well. Don't job hop. I've always been blessed to have the opportunity to be promoted from within until, a new opportunity that was hard to refuse presented itself. And so I'm really someone who, I see the city as home. The employees are like family. I enjoy coming into work. I enjoy pouring into the city, whether it be through, the day-to-day things that we do, or then the special occasions where you have identified needs in the community and supporting our residents in where I know we can take them. Our median income is about $57,000 per household. Sorry. I want to see us establish a sustainable city. We're turning 100. What do we have to show for that? How are we identifying opportunities for our residents to, upskill, make more money, and be secure in what they do? That's really my passion. And so, regardless of that title, I think I've shown up as an administrator. That's just my nature, and I look forward to continuing to do that.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Flormont, do you have a second round of question?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. You mentioned the collaborative efforts with the clerk's office, and I'm assuming that also includes the city attorney's office as it relates to our agenda process and our meetings. It's something that we've been asking, over and over. And I understand that there's some, deference given to the city commission as to directions that they want to go. But I also understand the importance of staff being very clear as to what processes and procedures are, and what we need to do to make sure that we move our meetings effectively and efficiently. And so how have you looked at the process of how an agenda is created and what you can do to streamline that process so that we can have more effective and efficient meetings?
So our process was pretty archaic. And I say that to say, we recognize that we needed to invest a little bit in software that makes more sense for us, and that's what we recently did. So identifying a calendar that's clear, informing you all so that it's not, 2 weeks before the meeting, it's 2 months before a meeting. This is what we're anticipating to present to you all. And then, of course, having additional conversations so that it makes sense where we're not loading one agenda because all the things are last minute and they have to happen. With that, that means that there needs to be a contract repository implemented so that we know when things are ending. Is a better tracking system of that we currently don't have, but we're working towards. So I think doing that and aligning with how our current agenda process is, considering Granicus is forthcoming, would be the answer to that question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jean.
The last question I have. So, out of the other candidates, you're the only one that's been in-house. This question is about gaps. So there's been a lot of gaps in, for example, initiatives or delays in each of our, I can't only speak for myself, but programming that I would have hoped to see be more continuous. I know a lot of the times staffing was always the scapegoat. How do you hope to fill in gaps, especially when things were basic, maybe in your purview? How do you hope to fill in those gaps?
Thank you. I think that's really why I want to focus on organizational reassessment. It doesn't take a lot of people to do one thing, and I say it with love because I really appreciate all that staff has done. I work alongside these folks day to day. We do the work. That's not the issue. I think the issue is just identifying how we can do it better. And so, where things just really don't make sense, there's room to improve upon those things. I don't know if that answered your question enough or you wanted a little bit more.
Just a little bit more.
Sure. So I can say this. For me, it's a matter of going through each department. I'm going to call out Parks just because Parks is responsible for their Parks programming, but then they also do special events. But then there's also other entities within the city that have to contribute to that effort, where the service could be more consolidated. One example is, we're trying to get off the ground the ribbon cutting or groundbreaking for a few projects. There's no one person that kind of holds the responsibility as a project manager to move those things along. Not currently. That's where I think if we're reassigning some folks and giving them a different different functions, they'd be able to assume those services or those tasks so that the service is improved.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sue?
So I love the ideas that you're presenting to us. My question is, what had stopped you from doing this as you are in the position that you're in right now?
So I could honestly speak for the last two. The current interim is someone who's really strong about being the interim and leaving certain things to the permanent manager. And so even presenting some ideas, there's been some pause on that. I would say that was kind of the same thing with the previous manager in that things were prioritized differently. So if I presented some options to eliminate this and maybe consider expanding on customer service and community engagement, that was just met at pause. It's not something that I could have controlled, but I did offer opportunities for us to improve our services, and I can only speak to what I would do when I'm in that seat, and I know I would move forward.
So then to follow up with that, how would you empower the people and our staff to do what you yourself had the idea of doing but didn't get a chance to do?
So prime example being the Housing and Economic Development Department. That's something that didn't come before you without consulting with staff, hearing their feedback, hearing what they're open to, and folks are willing. as the interim assistant city manager, I made it a point to visit all of the departments, to have conversations with them as a group, community planning and development, you know, a list of things that they would love to be exposed to. And so I think there's definitely room for that conversation. But then again, reality is, this is where we are as a city. This is where we feel and think things should move forward so that we're progressing. And so, you know, where the buck stops, it has to stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chernoff?
Your 20 years and thank you for your 20 years in service. That's wonderful. Describe a time when you faced an ethical dilemma of being in your position, and how did you deal with it?
I don't know that I'd had
Andres?
an ethical dilemma for myself, but there have been cases where management has questioned whether a commissioner can do a certain thing, whether they can, you know, for example, pay for someone to attend a gala. We have an ethics department within the county we relied on for their comment and their feedback. I wouldn't be opposed to continuing to do that. And obviously, as a public servant, that, you know, for me is not something that would be a challenge at all. I pride myself in doing great work and doing the most that I can. And so that would continue, most certainly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you. So I didn't hear the part about the 5 minutes, but I'd like to ask you a few questions. First place, what I want to thank you for is putting yourself on the hot seat, coming up with what you feel you're capable of and what you see as a progression for North Miami Beach. But you have made relationships here. You have made relationships with staff, with commissioners. That can be a dilemma. It certainly can. Human nature comes in. So how are we as a commission going to know that the changes that we need will be implemented no matter what? Because what I see is only what I can see related to some other cities, related to our own cities, related to the correspondence I get from residents and business owners. And there's just vast room for improvement. And I think the most important vote any commissioner can ever make is the vote on for the manager. Because in our city, in North Miami Beach, our manager runs all the employees and runs the whole city. So I would like you to give us the reassurance of how you're going to handle that dilemma. How when somebody wants an event after they just had an event, when we have already in place that there's a limit to how many events, and yet you see them go over and over and over. And many of the comments are, but I had it all sponsored. But it isn't all sponsored because we still have staff, we still have cleanup. So how are you going to address that? You have made some amazing relationships. How are you going to address that?
So yes, I think that's an advantage to you all that I made these relationships, not just with you, but with staff. I presume, and I honestly feel that I'm someone that is trustworthy in that if, you know, first of all, if policy is policy, then that's set in stone. But with the relationships that I've built, it's not to say that anyone gets a pass, including the city manager's office. If there are things that need to be approved upon, those are things that I want to assure happen. It really is that simple for me. That would just be my word.
I can tell you that I think in the future, right ahead of us now, economic development is going to be one of the key factors. We have an issue with CRA, which the manager no longer has that under their umbrella, but we don't know if there's going to be an extension. We don't know if we're going to have those funds to help businesses. So I just see the cost of running the city continues to go up, and yet the improvements and the value of life for the residents and business owners keeps going down. That's something that whoever becomes the manager has to flip. And that's one of the most important things to me. The manager that comes into this city has to not only be long-term, but has to come in running and try to flip the expense of the city versus the enjoyment of the city. So that was my first question, is what were you going to do? But now, do you have certain definite, besides the budget, that you're going to come in and evaluate each department, evaluate each employee, start with an evaluation for each employee? What's the game plan?
Thank you for adding that. One thing I didn't mention, and which would be pivotal, all of our directors have an evaluation process, but we do not extend that to the entire organization. And so, number one, accountability. You're in a role. Are you accomplishing the functions of that job to the standard of the city? And how, just establishing a process where we can evaluate that would be implemented. It's something that we lack now, I think, should seriously be addressed. In addition to that, ultimate reassurance is what I can give. I mentioned the city manager's office on purpose. There are things that don't make sense in our office now that I don't currently have the control to address, but would, should I have that opportunity. And I think ultimately, again, your advantage is that I'm here. I am someone who is in the weeds. I see what is wrong day to day, and I'm in a position to act on those things without a honeymoon phase, without someone coming in having to learn all the things. And then ultimately, you as the decision makers would continue to guide that. So I'm, more than willing and happy to continue in that space.
You know what's interesting? I don't know how many managers I've had, and assistant managers and interim managers, but the communication is one of the lowest I've ever seen. As commissioners, we are up here saying we didn't know, we didn't see it, we didn't get it. We're voting on things that we get right that night. If there's not improvement, we might as well just have somebody be there and not have a manager that's effective, that's going to work, that's going to make us see a difference and make a difference. And that is so important to me, because we have a year before the whole thing could turn over again. We have to have stability for that year to show whoever comes in here the next time they'd be foolish if they changed that. And that's why it's important for your interview to not only give us the reassurance, but give us the plan. What is the plan? I have two questions here from the public. One you kind of answered about fiscal stress and what trade-offs. That was the budget. We understand the budget needs revamping. We need to pay attention to how the money's spent before the budget and after the budget's passed, how we're spending it. The other question wanted to make sure that the person would be professional, independent, and non-political. The truth is, I don't think whoever becomes a manager know how they're going to be until they're the manager. I don't think they know until they put themselves on that chair. But we can at least ask for you to give us your strongest thing on your closing, how we know that when we made that decision for the one person to control 400 employees, to control the budget, to control 7, the mayor and 6 commissioners, we knew we put the right person in place. So my question to you is, again, you feel strong and ready to tackle this and know what we go through here, that 7 of us can't even be at a meeting together. You're ready to tackle this? You're ready to put your feet in the ground and make sure North Miami Beach can finally start to shine?
Okay, excuse me, Marlene, when you answer that, can you also incorporate your closing into
Sure.
it? Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, but I would like her to just answer the question about stepping in. She can also incorporate that in her closing statement, but I definitely am going to ask that of everybody about stepping in, because if anybody watched the commission meetings, we've had a few that are dysfunctional.
I would agree. Um, for me, and thank you so much for the opportunity just to be heard. I what I applied because I know that I'm capable. I applied because I know that I'm ready, and I applied because I want to see the good for the city of North Miami Beach. And for me, it's not about the title, the pay. It's about doing the work that I love to do. That's something that I've said in all the positions that I've been. It's why I came to North Miami Beach. Otherwise, I would have been, continuing on my path in North Miami probably. But ultimately, for Marlene, I show up. I've never stopped doing that since I've started. I like to think that the rapport that I have with the staff will definitely continue because we've built relationship where it's not just about executing the task, but it's about true collaboration and partnership and having the one mission, one vision in mind. And in closing, I want to thank you all.
Time.
Please close.
And I just want to, for the record, you're saying that the art money, we're not going to lose any of the art money.
Based on the obligations deadline and what we have submitted, there looks like there's nothing that needs to be returned. We
Sorry,
will.
but this isn't really a question about your job, so just you can continue this at another time. Just finish up, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to be heard. I sincerely appreciate it. I wouldn't have applied if I didn't feel and also think that the city would be moving in the right direction with my leadership. I applaud all of the work that the interim manager has done. He's given me a space where I can really step into the seat, sort of unofficially. And so, having been more engaged and more involved in the day-to-day oversight of departments that are very vital to our organization have been the test. I love being here. I love working alongside everyone and working to bring your policy into play. And it's something that I look forward to continue doing. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for applying, and we wish you all of us. We wish you good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is someone getting Darvin's next, right? Darvin?
Vice Mayor?
From an HR perspective, while our director's out, as much as you can, you should try to ask the same questions of all candidates. I know that was said, I'm just reiterating it.
Right. As much as possible. Yeah. Yes. Obviously, we can't ask those questions but as much as we can. Like my question, I know I can.
But we need to be more timely, guys, because that was a long time. Yeah.
Have to answer. Okay, I said up to 5 minutes of questions. Not a question, of questions.
Okay, well, that's not what we voted on.
We didn't vote.
At a workshop, that's not what we voted on, I'm just saying.
And it's up to 5 minutes. Doesn't mean you have to take 5 minutes.
How about just say one question each round? Start the second round.
So I don't think it's fair to change it in the middle.
Well, it's our elevator, but we don't have the money to.
You can't cut. Yeah. Yeah. Up to 5 minutes. Next month in February, the league dinner is going to be in North Miami Beach. The league dinner. So you have to go. I never.
I'm sorry, I never. Oh, you were VP since last year.
Since June, yeah. May 30th, so the date.
Okay.
They're still arguing about the 5 minutes.
It went smooth. I think it went pretty smooth.
Up to 5 minutes doesn't mean you have to do 5 minutes.
The time did not start when she asked the question.
Yeah, so she actually got more. Yeah.
So I think that's where the issue started. Like, okay, it's feeling longer because she got an extra minute. She's comes to some of our events and stuff.
Does she works here or lives here? I think she's a CPA. Possible? No?
Oh, you're talking about there was a young lady that was helping us out for a moment.
No. I think I've seen her at league dinners. Maybe that's. Where's Jarvin? Oh, there he is. All right. Okay, so Darvin Williams, thank you so much for being here and for applying. We are going to start with Commissioner Jean.
His introduction.
Oh, I'm sorry, the opening statement. Yes, you have up to 3 minutes for an opening statement.
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to the commission for this opportunity. My name is Darvin Williams. I'm the former city manager for the city of Opa-locka, and I'm also a former healthcare executive here in South Florida.
Talk closer into the mic, please.
I'm also a former healthcare executive here down in South Florida. I'm also recently an educator. I'm now the professor of business law for Florida Memorial University. I'm very excited for the opportunity to support the city and to learn. I think the most important thing is to listen and to learn, observe what our challenges are, listen to the commission, take the legislative directives and to execute them. My time here in South Florida, I've been a resident of South Florida for about 20 years. I arrived here in 2006, moved here from Washington, D.C., where I did a joint degree, master's in public health from the George Washington School of Medicine and a doctorate in law from the George Washington School of Law. Once I moved here, I also attended University of Miami. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thursday we win.
Just Go Canes. Which happens to be the #1 ranked business school here in the state of Florida, where I achieved my MBA. I bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the position, having also served the United States military. I'm a former military intelligence officer of the 82nd Airborne Division, where I served as a paratrooper with a specialist in linguistics. And I still speak a little Spanish and just a tad bit of Creole. So I welcome the opportunity to discuss my background and my skill set with each and every one of you. And I, again, thank you for this opportunity.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Jean?
Thank you so much for applying. So the first question, I wanted to kind of remix what I asked the previous candidate. Since you have government experience, have worked as a city manager, what would you do differently based on your experience before and now moving into a new city and new role? What are some of the lessons that you've learned that you would probably do differently currently?
That's a great question, and thank you for that question, Commissioner Jean. I'd like to say, full transparency and vulnerability, keep the commission informed. You think that there's a level of information that is sufficient, but it's best to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. I started off in the city of Opa-locka giving a weekly report. And at some point, I was told by the commission, members of the commission, why are you doing that weekly report? It takes up a lot of time. We take a lot of time reading it. It's a lot. And, you don't have to tell us every time you pick up a pen, you don't have to share that with us. But there are times moving forward and having been there, actually, I'm the second longest serving city manager in the city of Opa-locka. So having made that benchmark, I realized how important it is to make sure that every single member of the commission is informed of all things. So I would go back to doing that weekly report to say, these are the things that we're looking at in each department for this week. These are the things that moved. These are the things that didn't move. Here are the reasons why. Maybe not as lengthy as it was, but something so that every single week the directors are reporting to me and I'm reporting to you how the city's moving.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you've watched our commission meetings and have been following the trajectory of the things that we've been working on. What will your 90-day outlook, first 90-day look like in North Miami Beach?
Oh, thank you for that question. I think the most important thing is organizational structure. So you cannot, having been served in the military, you cannot move a team forward unless you have a structure by which to execute. So you have a lot of interim heads, department heads, which when you're interim, having served as an interim city manager before, there are just, you're not going to take full ownership of certain things until you know that this is your role and this is how you would want to see this department, or in the case, the city move. So it's important to, for the first 90 days, to really look at the vacancies that are in the city and to really put forward the best forth efforts to get those positions filled, particularly the department head position filled, whether that's going to be through staff that's going to be in-house, or if that's going to be, or we're going to look broader. Having had a similar experience when I went to Opa-locka, we out of our 12 department heads, 9 of the department heads were vacant. Mm-hmm. And what you find is there's a different reason for every department. Public Works Director, it was a question about the compensation. Finance Director, it was a question about the reputation of the city and the fact that we were under state financial oversight. And there are some repercussions. Usually a Finance Director may have a CPA. And are you willing to put your CPA on the license? Because there are certain auditory things that could get you dinged if you're the department head and you're the finance director and certain things are not dress right dress. So it was always a myriad of issues that have to be addressed. But within that first 90 days, you want to create an organizational structure that can be responsive to the legislation that the commission passes and responsive to the needs of the residents.
Thank you. Last question for me. It would be, what are some initiatives that you can take pride in that you've implemented in your previous cities?
So I'm very, very excited to say that the city of Opa-locka was the first to adopt the tenets of SB 102 out of the state of Florida, and that was under my administration. We drafted a affordable housing initiative to look to bring more developers into the city and to provide a working standard by which we could move projects forward swiftly. We worked directly hand in hand with the county to draft that initiative. And in fact, our initiative became the blueprint that the county now uses. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Do you want to expand a little bit more on the initiatives?
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
one that you may want to bring here?
Oh, absolutely. So that particular initiative, the way it works is, so we were not flush with cash in the city of Opelika. So we had to find creative ways by which we could move projects forward. But when you analyze development, a lot of time and money is lost in actually waiting for permits, waiting for reviews, waiting for sign-offs from the commission. So what we did, we streamlined that process, and we said, we got to the table with them and said, hey, this project will cost you how much if you go to the 24-month mark, because they also have site plan scheduling. So you have the site plan scheduling there that says the fees attached to the timelines. How much money would you save if we were able to reduce your timeline to 18 months? For a major project, that can be anywhere upwards of 1.3 to $3 million. So now we have a partner at the table that's willing to work for us, and all we have to do is better our processes and no money out of our pockets. So that's the way we were able to put on the table. We presented to the commission during that time period $174 million in projects fully funded. So I'm very excited about that.
Commissioner Sue?
Thank you, and thank you for applying, Mr. Williams. I'm going to ask the same question I asked the previous candidate. So our recent budget identified a $5 million structural operating deficit that we are currently covering by spending down reserves. Simultaneously, we have a surplus in our building fund, but state law restricts how those specific funds can be used. Since we cannot legally transfer building fund money to bail out the general fund, what is your specific 12-month roadmap to close the $5.5 million operational gap before we hit the fiscal cliff in 2028?
Yes. So thank you for that question, Commissioner Sue. I think that's a very, very important question. My background is law and finance. So obviously, when I was looking at this position, the first thing I did was pull down all the budgets and review them. And I did see the expenditures that you are now highlighting. And thought about where they are. You're also in litigation for some of the matters about how we are booking those things. So if selected as city manager, I had to come up with a strategy of how to address that. And it's fairly simple it's more about how you book it. So GAAP, government accounting principles. GAAP has a standard for how much you need to keep in reserves. Now, it's not mandatory, but it's a recommendation. So we want to follow those GAAP standards, because if we need to go out for a bond, that's going to be looked at. If we need to pull down credit, that's going to be looked at. If we're going for certain grants, it's going to look at your credit worthiness and your fiscal responsibility and fiscal accountability. That's going to be reviewed. So we want to adhere to the GAAP principle. We want to adhere to the GAAP principles, and one way to do that is how you book it. So currently now, what I saw sometimes is there are things coming directly, there are revenues going into the general budget from certain resources that could be arguably considered restrictive. And while we may be in a situation where we are reviewing that, we want to make sure that we go the most fiscally sound way. And the way that you do that is if that's a recommended revenue stream, or say what we have, best practices, if best practices is putting a certain revenue stream in the restricted account, you put it in the restricted account, but then you can provide documentations where you can loan it from one account to the other. So that's a simple executive documentation where you say, let's say the Water and Sewer Fund is going to loan $100,000 to the general fund. You do that documentation. There's state requirements about how long that loan can be, if you can go interest-free. But now we have the documentation to say that we're doing everything by the book and that we're fiscally sound.
Thank you. Next question. NMB Water, our crown jewel of North Miami Beach, is a regional utility acting as an enterprise business that serves far more customers outside than it does inside the city. This creates a tension. Our residents want revenue transfers to keep their taxes low, while regional customers and regulators demand aggressive reinvestment in infrastructure. How do you plan to balance the CIP to prevent infrastructure failure while defending the utility against political pressure to strip its budget for the general fund needs?
Well, that's a difficult question, because part of the answer lies with my bosses. So at the end of the day, it's the will of the commission. And as city manager, at best in a scenario where we can make recommendations. I do agree that this is the jewel. The utility department is the jewel, and it has such a potential for growth. And I think that's how it gets politicized sometimes, because something like that, everybody wants what North Miami Beach has. And that is actually the capacity to not only serve the residents here, but is serving and can serve additional cities. And that's would be my recommendation. And revenue increase would to go out there and get more customers, go out and get more water customers, go out and Miami-Dade County has a significant revenue stream in their annual budget where they just actually sell water to other cities. Why can't North Miami Beach do that? We have the same capabilities, we have the same capacities. Also, I met with one of the former city managers of the city of North Miami Beach to discuss when the utility was brought forward, what was the vision? And the vision was also a training center. So this was truly going to be not only a service for the residents, but also a service nationwide. And that could be something that the commission could consider too. And more importantly, it could be a regional facility. Now that's a more politicized discussion, but that could also empower the commission, empower North Miami Beach with its utility business.
Okay, so how would you, when we're talking about balancing the CIP structures, what are you thinking?
Well, capital improvement projects. Well, capital improvement projects, balancing it
With the tax money.
Oh, okay. Capital improvement projects, balancing it with the tax revenue. That is a process of putting forward a budget that accomplishes as much of the important projects as you can. So first, that would be individual discussions with the commissions to say, what are the priorities for capital improvement projects, and then getting a total number of that. In Opelika, that number was like 100 million. So obviously we didn't have 100 million, so we had to determine what are we going to propose to the commission that is going to take care of their priorities. Is there a senior center that the city is in demanding and is need and that has been promised for some time? Or is there some infrastructure needs? In my former city, we had some raw sewage leaks in certain part of the cities that obviously had to be addressed. So taking those responsibilities and priorities and putting together a budget that you discuss with the commission, that's how you balance it. Now, the other way you can do it too is also increasing revenue. Well, how do you increase revenue? Basically, there's two things that way you balance a budget. You either decrease your expenditures or you increase your revenue. I prefer both wherever possible, but also looking at I think increased revenue is really an area that most city managers don't look at, because we think only thing we can do is tax. Well, there are always creative ways that you can look at increasing revenue for a city. And I think North Miami, I won't share all of my ideas, but I think North Miami Beach has a lot of opportunity where we can actually look at increasing revenue. I think for development, P3s is one of those. I will share that with you. In the city of Opelika, we were able to generate a significant amount of revenue from proposing P3s, where we continue to maintain our land and our property rather than sell it. A developer, we partner with them, and then we take a portion of the revenue stream forever.
All right, thank you,
Yeah.
Commissioner Chernoff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, I'll ask you one of the same question. The state legislators are trying to take away our property tax. Give me specific ways you would help get revenue to replace that tax money that we rely on.
Well, I want to be clear and frank. Well, thank you for the question, Commissioner, but I want to be clear and frank. If that happens, it would be like trying to plug up a hole in a ship with a thumb. So I don't want to overpromise. If that happens, there is not a budget that I will be able to propose to you that will be able to cover the loss. We would have to, you are the face of the city, so you would have to engage the residents, and we'd have to empower you to engage the residents to prepare for the inevitable cutback on services that will be the outcome of that. We would absolutely do as the city everything we can to continue to provide the services that you say are necessary and vital and important. But some of those services that are more community-based, we would have to look at where we're going to cut. And of course, always, how are we going to generate additional revenue? That's always a proposal. One is the P3 proposals that we said, because absolutely, development will continue, and that can continue to be a revenue stream for the city. But my short answer is to not overpromise that the city would be able to put forward, or at least the city administration under my lead would be able to put forward a budget that could cover that loss.
Thank you. What is the most difficult decision you've made as a city manager, and what did you learn from it?
Was hiring a chief of police. Again, my background is law and finance, which is a long way from hiring a chief of police. So it was a high learning curve for me, even just to understand the language, which was a constant need in the city of Opa-locka. And so what I learned is to identify resources and rely on them. There are 3 chiefs of police that I reached out to. I knew one from being at events with them, and the other 2 I didn't know at all. I consider them friends to this day because they guided me through that process, and they were the panel. I didn't pretend to have a skill set that I knew I had to be the one to make the final decision, but I didn't pretend to have a skill set that I didn't have. So I had Chief Sousa, Chief Sousa from Key Biscayne, I had Chief Alvarado from Fort Lauderdale, and another chief from Miami-Dade County. And I sat in and they conducted the interviews. And at the end, we had a meeting where they provided recommendations and pros and cons for each chief of police. And from there, I was able to make a decision, but it was a tough process.
Right. What processes would you use to evaluate department heads and their immediate staff in order to identify ineffective performance and positions filled through nepotism rather than demonstrated knowledge, education, and experience?
Yes, I think every city manager coming in has to do an evaluation of his team, because at the end of the day, part of the job is getting the right person on the bus and then get him in the right seat on that bus. So part of that evaluation process is in the first 90 days is meeting with each department head, asking for organizational structure, reviewing their budget for them to say, why was this a recommendation for the city manager? Why is this in the budget? Reviewing their percentage of expenditures. If you ask for $100,000 for a line item, and we're in 6 months in, and you've only spent $25,000, then I need to understand why you asked for so much money, or is this a late expenditure? And then challenging them on the decisions that they're making, and then so doing, I think we can have an understanding of is this person best suited for this position? Is this person would be better served in someplace else in the city? So that would be the process which I would undertake, a 90-day evaluation process, meeting with the department heads one-on-one, and reviewing their budgets and expenditures.
Okay, my final question. You would have 7 bosses. How are you going to deal with all 7 of us?
Yes. Individually, absolutely. From the experience that I've had to date of meeting with each one of you, there is an individual a vision for the city. And then but that's still, even though there's 7 different visions, it's still incumbent on the city manager to make that vision come to pass. So how I was able to survive, so some say in Opa-locka for as long as I did, is to have a notebook for each individual member of the commission where we meet I prefer to meet at least in the beginning once a week, and then once we have a flow going, perhaps we can reduce that to twice a month or once a month. But it is a book that has all of your agenda items in it, that has your vision for the city, the things you want to see worked on, the things you want to see delivered, and I report to you on a timely and consistent basis where we are. Have we hit any roadblocks? Do we have to have some additional resources? Do we need to revamp this particular agenda, or is mission accomplished? And that's the process that I would undertake.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you so much. Welcome, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
First question is, how would your professor's new job relate to being a commissioner? What's your hours? What's your responsibility?
Thank you. It's a 2 hour, it's a nighttime gig for 2 hours a week, for 3 months.
For 3 months.
Yes.
So one of the questions, you said you've watched some of the commission meetings, so you know where we're at financially, you know where we're at as far as communication and community with our residents. What would you do right off the bat to make a difference in North Miami Beach so that the public and we as a board, as a commission, can see the difference?
I want to make sure I understand the question. See the difference in how the commission is run?
See the difference in that the city's going now in a good direction, a right direction, not just the commission, but potholes are going to be fixed, that's broken sidewalks, that the residents are going to be heard.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that question. First thing I would implement was an open door policy. What that means that the residents has access to the city manager's office, maybe not necessarily me per se, but has access to the city manager's office to say, hey, there's a pothole there's a pothole here and it has not been addressed. I've been bringing it up through different avenues, and then we now want to bring it up directly to the city manager. Can you get this item moved forward? We will log all of those, whether it's in our office or sometimes they will, residents will stop members of the city manager's office at commission meetings. We will follow up with them. We will send a report to the commissions, to the individual commissions to say, hey, this resident brought this up on this date and we got it addressed.
You know, when a manager comes in from out, even within, they bring their own people, which is understandable. They want to have somebody they trust and they want to have somebody that they know does the work. But that kind of changeover would be a shock. So have you thought about that? Have you thought about if this position is offered to you, you're going to have a certain people that work well with you that you're ready to bring in?
Well, yes. The answer to your question is yes, and it's not my intention to do a total turnover of the current administration. Take the water and utility department. Those are very, very sensitive positions that sometimes takes years to get the familiarity necessary to move things in those departments. So you would have to have a well-oiled machine already in place to bring somebody outside in that could be even remotely effective to that. And I think past behavior is a good predictor of future behavior, right? And that was not the approach that I took in the city of Opa-locka. I believe that the best talent that you can find to run a department is often right under your nose. So it's identifying that talent and nurturing that talent and promoting from within wherever possible.
Okay, there's just a couple more questions. One of the things that I think is important for you to note is that we have an election in a year. So we have to get a lot accomplished this year to show whoever is up here, 3 seats could be up, and whoever comes up here, that they don't want to make a change, that the city is moving in the right direction. So the first year is going to be a very difficult year, a lot of work, a lot of time from home. So what is your feeling about the change happening quickly and as soon as you come in, rather than feeling it out and prolonging, which is a lot of what North Miami Beach does? We're still looking into which consultant to use 7 months later. So that my question is, if the time is limited, how are you going to prove that you're going to make the best of that time to show the public?
Absolutely. The first step, as I shared, was through organizational structure. You got to put together a team and a machine that can operate, and I'm willing to do the work. Staying late at night, coming in early, coming in on the weekends. I was a familiar face in City Hall during those times, and I continue, and because it was necessary. And I've become apprised of some of the challenges that the city faces now, and I'm ready and prepared to put long hours in when necessary and when needed.
And I think one of the things, I have 2 questions. One of them was in reference to the budget and the stress of the budget. But I think having been manager and knowing a little bit about that, you'll jump in and see where the problems are. The other one is to make sure that the person that's the commissioner, a guide, the manager that guides all of us up here and gives us some advice and some suggestions, is a very independent and non-political. And I thought that was a good question, and that they're professional. I don't think anybody up there really knows how they're going to be till they get there. I've said that before. But do we have your reassurance that when you come into office in North Miami Beach as a manager, you will make sure that the 7 of us are 7 people that are treated independently and yet as one commission?
You have my assurance that I will serve each and every member of this commission 100%.
Okay, Mr. Williams, I'm going to ask you about the elephant in the room. One more question, the elephant in the room. Help me understand you living in Miami Gardens and being the manager for North Miami Beach. I would like the public to hear it. I'd like to hear it from you. So please address that.
Yeah, which water do you drink?
I'm sorry.
Yes, I am a water customer of the city of North Miami Beach, living in Miami Gardens. So yes, I am.
So we would like to know, not only are you a customer of ours, but you happen to be married to one of the commissioners.
Yes.
So I would like to know how you're going to address to the public those 2 issues.
Who has her business in North Miami Beach?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So
And by the way, we both love the same woman. I love your wife.
thank you so much.
She's amazing.
She loves you as well. I know that this has been a discussion, and I have boned up on the issue because it's me. It's not something that I ever thought of. Let me start. I'll start. It's a great question. I'll start from a personal answer. Our ties, my wife and I, our ties in North Miami Beach are very long and long-standing. My wife owns a medical practice that has been here in the city of North Miami Beach for over 20 years. And in fact, her first office was across the street here from City Hall, which is why I'm so familiar with so many of your residents and employees, because they were patients or are patients of hers. We just had, one of her patients just had her 80th birthday, and she lives in Eastern Shores. And as we've been doing for the last 5 years, we took her out for her birthday. And that was not just because, and she wasn't even aware that I am actually a contender for the city manager position. That's something that we've done for the last 5 years, long before this position became vacant. My wife has done health fairs, as you all are aware, many of you are aware, here in the city, where she provides free healthcare services in partnership with the city. She's also provided work with a member of the commission here to do breast cancer awareness and breast cancer screenings, having been a survivor herself. So yes, our home is in Miami Gardens, but our heart is still very much so in the city of North Miami Beach. Having been a healthcare consultant, I've had several medical practices that I've helped run and count as clients of mine here in the city. And also doing expert on mergers and acquisitions. There are several businesses that I have advised here in the city of North Miami Beach, several large businesses, by the way. So that's the personal level here, that we care about the city of North Miami Beach and have cared, and we have a long history of demonstrating that. Next, for me, as from a more logical standpoint, or as I told you, my expertise are in math and law, and so when I look at the math, you all may not be aware, but she's been a councilwoman for City of Miami Gardens for 1 year, and I believe the compensation is $40,000. And so, from a logical math standpoint, I would be hard pressed if I am your city manager and being compensated over $200,000 a year, while that would be compromised for a temporary position that she is serving for $40,000 a year. That would not be in the best interest of my household should I be in that position. And from an integrity standpoint, wherever I work, wherever I serve, as it's like in the Army, when I served in the Army. Whatever the division that you put in, you serve that division, you serve that general to the best of your abilities. Doesn't matter if your previous general that you came in under doesn't get along with that general. This is who you serve now, and that is how you are going to execute the mission. So I would never allow a general from another city to give me directives or orders that were against the general that I serve. And
All right, thank you. Commissioner Flormont?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for applying and being one of our finalists. The question that I have is similar to questions that I've asked before about the process of putting our agenda together and making sure that our meetings are streamlined. In your experience and in your thoughts about how you would implement a better process, what would you do to work with the clerk and also the city attorney to manage to have more efficient and effective meetings?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. It's a great question. First, I want to absolutely give the charter members their deference. The city attorney serves a very, very important role with reviewing the legal sufficiency, and that is his role solely, and not for the city manager to step in. And certainly, the city clerk takes lead on putting together the agendas. I have reviewed your agendas, and what I feel the city manager's office could tighten up and better serve the commission is with information. There should be, for example, for example, I have observed a few commission meetings where one of you will ask, well, how much is this, what's going to be the fiscal impact of this particular agenda item? That is information that should be on the first page of every agenda that you receive, so that question is answered. Also, there should be a one-pager that says pertinent information. Who is going to be, who's the vendor? What's the fiscal impact? What's a projected timeline? Given that information, at least on a one-pager to the commission, will allow you to make better informed decisions and execute more promptly and swiftly, and hopefully have even a faster commission meeting because that information will already be in your hands.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I have been serving here for a little over 7.5 years. If you were chosen, you would be the 5th city manager that I would serve with, and not including the 3 interim city managers. So what made you decide to be in a job that has statistically no job security, and what makes you different? Why are you going to be here in 5 years?
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for that very tough question. So I'd say, again, that I'm looking to perfect a process. I took pride in being the longest-serving city manager in the city of Opa-locka in a decade. I was only beat out by Kelvin Baker by 6 months, and if I had lasted 6 more months, I could have beaten his record. But things are as they are, and I think that I can unite by being indifferent to each member of the commission and serving you wholeheartedly and fully, and getting to know. Getting to know your commission. Like, for example, one of the things that served me well was identifying key targets and initiatives of the people that I worked for. So if a vendor came to the city and he was wanting to talk about ecosystems, I knew right away that would be something that Commissioner Veronica Williams, would want to look at and be participating in. If it was something that was serving the children in the parks, I knew that Vice Mayor Irvin, that would be something she would be passionate about. So it would be connecting the opportunities to the members of the commission that can best push it forward or are passionate about it. Because what I find is when your jobs are not easy. Your jobs are not easy. Many of you have full-time positions and full-time jobs that you have, and then you come here to serve the public. So part of the role of a city manager is to facilitate the business that you have to do for the city. And one way to do that is to anticipate what your needs are, anticipate what your goals are. And absolutely, my expectation is that you will articulate them to me. But as you have begun working with me, I need to be able to understand, okay, this is something that Commissioner Smith would like to push forward. Let me discuss this with her. This is an opportunity that Commissioner Sue has already discussed in commission meetings. Let me present this to her. And in working together, fulfilling that vision, I think that it's a very delicate balance. I do not have all the answers, but I think I have a vision and a process by which we could work together and I could serve all 7 of you to your satisfaction.
All right, thank you. So we're going to see if anybody has more questions. Commissioner Sue?
Okay. So my last question is, I think this is, I think you pretty much have addressed this already, which is about the narrowly voted on items, right? Like in our city, it's very rarely that we take initiatives like 7-0. You know, it's always like a 4-3 or, you know, like that is often common. The question is, if there's a directive that comes with a narrow vote, right, how do you ensure the policy is executed enthusiastically by staff without alienating 3 other commissioners, and how would you handle that?
Again, thank you for that tough question, Commissioner Sue.
It's pretty much the same.
I think that, well, again, law and finance, those are my areas of expertise. And the fact of the matter is that once the majority of this commission votes on an item and it passes, that's the law. It is now not an option for my it's not an option for my office to execute that law. It's not our opinion that will say how the speed by which we push it forward. It's not our job to get it done. And I am going to be evaluated on how well I get done the things that you pass. And it's my goal to ensure that once something passes, that it gets done, because that is what a fair evaluation of myself as a city manager I hope to be.
Great answer. Thank you.
That's it. Commissioner Chernoff? Okay, Commissioner Smith?
You know, North Miami Beach, the most important thing I think going forward now is economic development. We don't know about the tax dollar, but we know the costs to run the city are going sky high, and we know that there's a lot that needs to be done. For everything from speed bumps in some of these streets to just repairing the streets, cutting the... How are you going to not just streamline the process, but bring people in to North Miami Beach to want them to make this their next place of business?
Thank you for that question. That's a great question, Commissioner Smith. We have to sell the city. We have to sell like multiculturalism. That is something that draws people to cities, and we have it here. We have a diverse community. We have a strong Jewish community, a strong Haitian community, a strong Spanish community. That is something that draws businesses in, and we don't sell it enough. I don't see it sold enough. I think that perhaps we should look at a marketing company that will work with the city manager's office and work with the commission to see what are the selling points of the city. What is going to be the thing that we're going to say, come to the city of North Miami Beach if you have a business, and here's the reason why. My office, as you said, will provide those streamlined processes and those financial incentives that say to a business or a developer, you want to be here. But we also have to have a vision, and vision is set out by the commission. So I would love to engage the commission on that discussion. What is going to be the selling points or the selling point for the city of North Miami Beach, and then executing on that vision.
All right, Commissioner Florimond has stepped out. If you can hear me and you have another question, please come in. Otherwise, Commissioner Jean.
Before I get it's not really a question per se. I think for outside candidates, you are going to present your best to us. And I've spoken to your previous bosses. There's always speculations, rumors, all kind of things. But for me, and we've all had discussions on how transparency is important as well. So for me, my statement would be, we're really looking for someone that has good boundaries and good protocol. Those are the two things I think that will unify this board. And that would be one of the things I would want to hear in your closing statements, how you're going to unify and also have those protocols in place that allow each member of this commission to be respected and seen.
Understood.
All right, so, I just want to say a few years ago, during the Commission of Status of Women, we were talking about for the Heart Health Walk who was going to be our speakers, and someone had mentioned Michelle, Dr. Powell, and they're all like, oh yeah, it'd be great. They're all saying how wonderful. And like 2 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, she said yes. And they're like, you have her number? She said yes. And the employees go to many of the employees, and I'm talking about the employees that were really happy that she was one of our speakers. So we thank you we thank Michelle for, I'm not sure if she's going to be able to do it this year, but we thank Michelle for always being part of the Heart Health Walk, and that's how I actually met her through a breast cancer awareness that we did also on the Commission of Status of Women in the library. So anyways, thank you so much for applying. We wish you good luck.
Thank you.
And can you want to do a closing statement?
Yes.
Just
thank
like a
you.
minute. You have a question or?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No?
I heard about the closing statements and what would be included in them. I think that, I definitely like to hear about how you plan on unifying the entirety of North Miami Beach, especially on our centennial, and what your plans are for your first 90 days should you be in the position.
Thank you.
So if you want to incorporate
Okay.
that into your closing
Okay.
statement.
So thank you for this opportunity. It's not remiss on me how important this role is, and at the timing of it. You have an election, as stated, in 2026, later this year. We have challenges in the water department, challenges in litigation, challenges in the budget. But at the same time, there's a gem here that I also think is the reason why North Miami Beach gets some of the spotlight it does. They see the opportunity. They see the opportunity for development. They see the opportunity for small businesses. They see the opportunity in multiculturalism that other cities here in Miami-Dade County, quite frankly, don't have. And so if chosen as your city manager, I'd like to work with you on developing your vision for those things, not just the challenges, but the opportunities, to make it better for all of the residents, every single one of them, because that's what they want. There are over 40,000 residents in the city, but we only engage through this process probably maybe 100, 1,000 at max per year, because there's other 39,000 to 44,000 that are working every day and just rely on you once they voted for you to take care of their needs. And so my goal is to facilitate that process. One, by policies and procedures, by transparency. One thing I already mentioned is weekly reports. It will be my goal, no matter how difficult it is and how high that bar is, to make sure that each one of you are informed on a weekly basis on any major issues that are going on in this city, in writing. And that would be by having that come to me from my department heads. So that would mean a strong communication from the department heads of what's going on a timely basis, whether it be on the weekend, or if it's a water main burst and it's a weekend, I want to be notified immediately. If there's a police incident, as unfortunately we've seen a small uptick in that, I need to be notified immediately so I can timely inform you on the things that you need to be made aware of. And I think working with department heads so that we have those communications line streamlined, and there's an understanding that you have to get this information to me so I can get it to my bosses, so that because you are the ones that are going to have a microphone in front of your face while you're walking about your day saying, hey, such and such happened in your city. Do you know about it? And so it's my job to make sure that you know about it, even if the response is no comment, right? So, and I think I've heard a lot through the last commission meetings and through this process about transparency. And I do think that is achieved through policies and procedures. And so it's going to be reviewing those policies and procedures. I have some thoughts about, the process as I've gone through it as one of your candidates. And so I question, how is it for other candidates or for other positions going through this process? Are there policies in place? Are there procedures in place? Are they being informed? Are they being timely notified? So yeah, I think that's incumbent upon the city manager to review all of those policies and procedures and make sure that they're in place, that it's a transparent process, and that there is communication directly to the commission.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. We can call in the next person, please. Thank you. While they're bringing, yeah, we're gonna take just a few minutes while they bring in the next person, and we can go to the bathroom and stuff. All right, we're going to start again. All right. Hello, is my mic on? Yes. Okay, we're starting. All right, so we are here now with we are back, and we are here with Rasha, and we're going to ask that you about 2 minute. How many minutes? 2 minute, 3 minute introduction, up to 3 minute introduction of yourself, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Rasha Camo. I am one of your applicants for the city manager position. I have worked in government and public affairs for over 20 years. I've been a public servant in the nonprofit in the government world for, like I said, 20 years. I started my career in public service in nonprofits. I worked at Human Services Coalition, where Mayor Cava, she had created this nonprofit organization, which is now Community Catalyst. But at the time, I was her only part-time employee, and I wanted to get paid. So I created the systems. I helped her grow the organization to what it is now, and that helped me realize what my skill sets were. So my specialties are always in systems, operations, and efficiencies. I have an undergraduate degree in public administration, and I have a master's in business. My heart and passion has always been in either nonprofit or government, but I also want to run it like a business to make sure that it's running efficiently and that we're getting, we're helping people. From that, I also worked at the city of Miami. I was the Little Haiti administrator, and I was also the founding director for the Little Haiti Cultural Center when it was created. And then I was here in North Miami Beach for a couple of years. I worked in the manager's office. And I also helped with the CRA. And when I was here during that time, Commissioner Smith was there. We did successfully do one so far that I know of TIF negotiations, which is a Lazul project. And then from there, I went to work for the city of North Miami, reorganizing their CRA, and then Miami-Dade County, where I was the assistant director for their annexation and incorporation and their CRAs. And lastly, in terms of government, I was the city manager at the city of North Miami. So I've seen and I've experienced a lot of different aspects of government and a nonprofit, and that's why I'm here in front of you today.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to start with Commissioner Chernoff.
Good evening. What is the most difficult decision you've made as city manager, and what did you learn from it?
My past experience, my past stint in the city of North Miami, most difficult is when you have to terminate staff. When I started working there and the city had a lot of issues, I realized that the issues that, for them to be fixed, I had to replace some key staff people that were responsible for some of the obstacles or the challenges that we faced. And it's never easy to terminate somebody. And I say that all the time because everybody has a family, everybody has obligations. It's not something that you do lightly, but it's something that you have to do. And to me, that takes a toll on you and on me. And I do not regret doing that because it then helped us fix the issues that the city was going through, and it has improved from that point, but that was extremely difficult.
Thank you. What processes would you use to evaluate department heads and their immediate staff in order to identify ineffective performance and positions filled through nepotism rather than demonstrated knowledge, education, and experience?
Okay, that's a very loaded question.
Yeah.
So again, my experience, even, if I were to be lucky to get the position, part of my first 90 days is to assess the staff in the departments and even meeting with each commissioner, but meeting the department directors first. I meet with them individually to understand their issues, their challenges, what they're working on, and so on. And usually I get them to provide me with their, the org chart, their policies, what is going on, and who the staff people are. And from that point on, I observe, because part of it is, yes, somebody's going to tell you what you want to hear, but I also have to observe to see how they work and how the staff is working. And the other part about it was I had an open door policy. When I was at the city of North Miami, I was in my office at 7 a.m. So I had an open door policy. So staff came to my office without an appointment because I was there, and they knew they can say anything to me. So it didn't matter which role you had, which position you had, but you can come and talk to me and tell me. And I have experience in HR, so I know to keep certain things confidential. But it helped me to understand some of the challenges that they were having, because I can't just rely on what the department director is telling me. It's not just a top down. It has to be, all around. It has to be like a 360. So that helped. The other part about it is, there is some advantages of having the experience, the educational background, but I have to look at how they're getting the job done. You can have a book smart person, but they just can't get the job done, and you can have vice versa. So I have to determine, based on their past evaluations, their past work performances, what the issues are, and also looking at the challenges that you guys are facing when you go through your council meetings, like how these items are being presented, how they're being done. If a capital project is not moving, why not? And if that's because this person may not have that skill set, is it a training issue that they need to be trained to learn how to improve? Or is it something that I need to fix and they need to be replaced?
Thank you. The state legislature is looking to remove our property tax. We're not sure where it's going. If it happens, what would you do? How would you get revenue?
Well, again, I love these loaded questions. A little closer. Is it better? Okay. Yes, I love these loaded questions. Is everybody with loaded questions too? So, again, one of the challenges is, especially for a city like North Miami Beach, you don't have tourism tax. You're not able to find funding that easily. But I can't tell you right off the bat what it is, because I have to look at what your finances are and what your revenues are and where you're getting them. I do know, I was looking at your audited financial statements. And
over 80-something% from property tax.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But you do get a lot of fees, right? And I saw and again, not reading the whole thing, and because I'm not involved in the day-to-day, I can't presume to know every single thing. But I do know that I saw you had a finding on your building permit fees, right? That's an overage that you need to resolve. So some of the money you have to give back, some of the money you have to figure out how to fix. There are ways to generate revenues. Some of it, we don't want to raise taxes, and we don't want to definitely raise fees, but some of it is reallocating some of the revenues that you're receiving. I can give you a perfect example. Again, the city of North Miami, the building department was charging fees for reoccupancies and so on and so forth. They were using the building code, so it had to go into the building fund. When I removed that function and put it under the code office, and they used the state code, that fund went to the general fund. So it increased their revenue because of that. So, but I can't tell you right off the bat how you're going to find 80% of your revenue. I'd have to look at it. Also, your grants, I looked at in your audited financial statements. You need to look at prioritizing fundraising and federal, state grants to cover a lot of these things.
Thank you.
Some of it, I apologize, maybe you have to cut some things.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Smith.
So this year is our centennial year. And that requires more money spent to advertise our city and to let the public know that we are proud to be 100 years old. But it also reminds us we have to go 100 years forward. So to me, the management team, whoever is there at the helm, in charge of 400 and something employees, and in charge of helping the commission to make the best decisions, they have to be prepared to, like you just said, bring in revenue and make sure the revenue is spent in the right direction. Mm-hmm. what's your goal coming in right off the bat? Because we have an election year, whoever's there might only be there for a year. But I want to show the public that we're moving in a good direction with this new manager. What are some of your goals and thoughts to off the bat?
Okay, thank you. That was not so loaded. Thank you. So, I mean, in any position, the first thing you do, you need to, review everything, right? Again, meeting with the commission. I mean, there's 7 of you, that's 7 different opinions. I need to understand each one of you, how you are, and what makes you tick, and what does make the community tick. Then again, understanding the departments and what their issues are, so I can come in and provide you with a recommendation on how we're going to be moving forward. Secondly, your finances. Again, I mentioned your audited financial statements. You have 5 deficiencies that need to be addressed, but you also have other issues that you need to look at to set up moving so that you can prepare for the future and also for potential deficits. Thirdly, I would look at any quick short-term projects that can be done. Some of the things that I've heard before is some of your capital projects have been in standstill for whatever reason. It could be, management or money or the vendor or procurement, but I don't know what it is. But I would definitely make sure that whatever short-term projects that can come out right away would be prioritized and moving forward. Then I would work on a 12 to 18-month plan for you to review and see how we can move forward in the future. I don't look at everything on the day-to-day. Yes, we're working on this year's budget, but we need to be looking at the next 5 years. We need to prepare for the next 5 years, because it's not just, we had COVID 5 years ago, right? So it's not just this property tax that could be an issue. There could be others. So preparing for it and making sure we have safeguards set in place to make sure that we can move. I always operate with the process, a policy of, in case I die or win the lotto. I tell people that every day and they laugh at me. And the point is, I want to make sure that I set it up so that it can run properly, whether I'm here or not. And you don't have a gap in service. You don't have a gap in leadership because somebody's not here. The systems are set in place. The departments are running as they should until you bring in a next manager.
And how long does that process usually take you to jump your feet in and make sure it's rolling?
Well, it depends, but it's usually about 90 days.
90 days, the first 90 days.
Yeah.
And to me, I've said it to the other two, and I want to give you that thought as well. To me, the most important thing is economic development. Mm-hmm. And I mean responsible economic development. North Miami Beach is set dormant. Aventura built up around us, North Miami built up around us, Miami Gardens built up around us, Sunny Isles. And we really sat dormant. We need responsible, but the cost of running the city has certainly gone skyrocketing and will continue. So what can you do in your capacity as manager to bring in economic development to our city?
Well, I mean, you just voted to create a new economic development department. And I know you do have a relationship and a partnership with the Beacon Council. So understanding what strategic plans that they're going to be doing and what funding. There is so much federal dollars available for opportunities, let's say workforce training. There's so much that you can do. One of the things that I noticed, and full disclosure, I'm working on Commissioner Bastien's Economic Development Master Plan for District 2, primarily the unincorporated side, so not really the municipal partners. But one of the things that we talked about is training the employees and training the residents in the community. You have a new generation. My son is one of them. He's 16. I'm afraid, right? They're not properly trained to take on any workforce that's out there. We were focusing so much on STEM, but not on trade, not on all these other opportunities and these professions, that we let it go by the wayside. So there are opportunities there, but I don't like to come in and bring things. I like to find out what's there, and if this is what your priority is, then I'm going to tweak it and make it work.
So speaking about coming in and how you do things, usually when a new manager comes in from outside, they have their own people, which makes sense because they trust them and they know how they work. But unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work. Like, we have an amazing police department, finally. Everybody's happy. The police are happy, the residents are happy, the staff is happy. But have you thought about that, and have you thought about some ideas if you do become the manager, who you'd bring in?
No, I don't. I usually come in and I assess because you probably have great team members here already. I just need to know who they are and help them with their skill set. Some of them could be it's because of how the manager was before. It all depends. But if I see there's something lacking, then I will have to bring it up. Like I said before, the most difficult thing I had to do in North Miami is I had to let go of some key directors because I realized that they were not the ones to be responsible for the task that needed to be done. But I don't have a team. I don't bring a team. I work with what I have now, and then from there, I'll figure out what else is necessary.
And
All right, Commissioner Smith.
I have the last question in reference to you working with 7 people. So how are you going to make sure that every voice is heard and everybody feels as if they definitely have a say in how the government is run for North Miami Beach?
So, I mean, again, I know, 7 different opinions. It's wonderful. One is open communication, right? Regular briefings. I insist on it. I've been known to go to people's houses just to do the briefing to make sure that, we've discussed everything that needs to be discussed and I have your concerns. Apart from the briefings, the feedback. I need to hear from you. If I'm doing it right, yes, I don't need praise, but I need to know. If I'm not doing it right, I need to know. More importantly, because I need that feedback because I may not realize that what I'm doing is incorrect, and it's not the priority of the commission. So it's extremely important for us to have a two-way communication. Again, working with your staff, because for me, the one thing that I noticed also is, normally if you're not doing briefings, at least your staff is aware of the key issues and they're communicating it with you in a timely manner. The one thing I hate is when an elected official is out in public and they're being blindsided by a resident or a vendor on something that happened and they're not aware of it. And that's the worst that for you as an elected official and for me as a city manager. So I always want to make sure like there are issues that are going to come up, anything. If not you're not available, then your staff is aware and your staff is going to communicate that with you so that you're aware and you're prepared for whatever.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Flormond.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for applying and making yourself available for this process. We talked a little bit earlier about our strategic plan and how the strategic plan pretty much leads us in every direction in every department. How have you been effective in making sure that municipalities that you've worked with or organizations that you worked with have really stuck to their strategic plan and made sure that they accomplish the goals that they set out?
So with AI, pretty much, right? Using a CRM system. For the city of North Miami, I used Monday.com. It's a system that they use in the private sector, but it is a godsend. It helps for you to understand the complexities of how to get the projects done, the deadlines. I gave an example this morning of, again, the minutiae of the departments. And, you have the strategic plan, you have the goals, what do you need to get done. It keeps everybody in check. But even the minutia of, returning a phone call, right? I was at a function one time with Mayor Disrelme, and this lady just came at him, and I was there, and he's like, well, this is the city manager, talk to her because I know I gave her the information. So she's like, well, yeah, the procurement department didn't contact me, blah, 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 blah. And I asked her name and her information. I pulled up Monday from my phone and I researched it. And then like, well, we contacted you. I have proof that this has happened. And she goes, oh, you have the wrong number. I gave you the wrong number. So, and she apologized to him. Let me tell you, Mayor Disrelme uses Monday.com now, right? And it helps for larger scale projects because it provides you with a dashboard that you can see. Like if you want to know where you are on Washington Park or the Highland Village project, you don't really have to call me or ask me because it's there on the dashboard. You can see it, and the departments can see where they fit in. It helps also because what I hate the most is when employees are pointing the finger at another department. It's not me, it's this. It's stuck in procurement, it's stuck in this, it's stuck in that. It removes that because they're working as a team and they're able to see, okay, I was supposed to get this done by the 15th. What is the issue and why didn't it get done? and it helps us streamline a lot of these things. For me personally, in terms of employee relations, it helps remove a lot of stress. Okay. For council, I would assume it would be great just for you to have that information. Same information I have, you have, and the residents have is the best, because you're not getting mixed messages, and they don't feel like they're being given different, kind of information. So I would definitely be using some kind of CRM system to help make sure that whatever the strategic plan says, it's being followed.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jean.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and congratulations on getting to this level. My first question is, since you're coming from another city or you're an outside candidate per se, what would you do differently in this, if you were to get this role, than you did in your previous role?
Very good question. Well, I have to say a lot of the things that happened, maybe, I don't know, I haven't really fully thought about it, but I would try to make the council understand a lot of the decisions that need to be made a little bit more, right? The decisions that I made in North Miami had to be done, and the improvements happened, right? But because these decisions affected personal friends or relations, it affected the work, and therefore it affected my relationship with the council, right? I don't take things personally. For me, it's business, it's professional, and I will always be as professional as I can be. But I try to help. I try to do as much as I can for the council. Let's say you're asking to get a project done. As long as I'm doing it ethically, properly, legally, I have to impress upon, let me do it. As long as the end result is what you wanted, then allow me to take care of it, and not so much getting direction from the council on how to get it done.
Definitely. Thank you for your answer. Another question would be, I think we kind of alluded to that. How does your first 90-day look, hitting the ground running? How does your process look like on the first 90 days?
So again, it's fact finding, and the fact finding is time consuming, because it takes up a lot of time and energy. Just, apart from meeting with you, meeting with the department directors and so on, meeting with key stakeholders, the community and so on, just to hear what the issues are, and meeting with other, staff in terms of in general staff, middle management, and so on, so that I can understand what the issues are and I can prepare for it. The other part about it, again, is the finances. Your audited financial statements have already provided me with some stuff that I realized that are red flags that need to be addressed. In the future, if you're going to be taking out any loans, any things like that, your book's got to be clean. So that, to me, your finance department is going to require a little bit more TLC to make sure that we have the staffing, and also having a proper succession plan. One of the key things that I read all over it is because there was such a high turnover. However, if you're bringing in experienced people, you should be able to pick up and move along. Thirdly and fourthly, again, is looking at all the capital projects or any projects that you've had lingering for a while, right? And then looking at how we can streamline some of it, and finally presenting you with a 12 to 18-month plan of, okay, based on your strategic plan, your economic development plan, this is what we will be focusing on. With your blessing, can I move along with it? So that would be it for now.
And any initiatives that you've done in the past that you would look to replicate here, or anything that you would want to bring to the table?
Well, I mean, I have, again, until I've done my assessment, but definitely bringing either Monday.com or some kind of CRM to help. Technology with AI it makes things less stressful and seamless. One of the things that I did in North Miami, that may be dependent on what I see. In North Miami, one of the complaints that they had, and Mayor Desmarais passed a resolution in response to it, was residents would call, it would take a week, no response, and it would just go unanswered, and emails and so on and so forth. So he had passed a resolution that staff needed to respond within 24 to 48 hours. And to make that happen, what I did, in addition to Monday.com, I did create the position of a public engagement officer. And that person's job was to manage the inflows of information and communication and respond in a timely manner. I can tell you it helped, like the complaints went down by 90%. It was no joke. It was because we were able to respond. The other thing that I did when I was in North Miami, when I worked with all the HOAs, we were in a group chat. Again, that's to help with dissuading misinformation, right? Yeah, we had when there was one time there was it was around November and there was a bad storm. It was a lot of flooding, and a lot of trees fell. And this resident put on the group chat, "Oh, there's a public works pickup truck just passed by. They didn't stop by for this branch. Bless you." And I responded, "No, 2 blocks away from you, a whole tree fell on a house. The priority is them. We will get to you as soon." And she's like, "Oh, okay, thank you." But if I had not responded, if somebody had not responded right away, it would just continue, and just, a lot of misinformation, not being aware of everything. So that's something that I would do here. And lastly, I had looked at their agenda format, and I streamlined that as well. I made sure that the staff memos were legible and easy to read and clear, so that anybody, you don't have to be a resident or somebody who's involved with the project. You should be able to read the memo and understand what it is that's going to be voted on, so that when people come, they're speaking specifically to the item and they understand what the item's about. And I mean, you could check, council meeting time went down. I mean, at one point they were even making bets on how early can they leave. And we did it as a joke, but essentially it helped because residents understood, they read it, they had the agenda, it was clear. We're not speaking resolution legal lingo, we're speaking clearly so they can understand where their tax dollars are going and what the issues are.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Sue.
Thank you. There's a couple of things that you've already touched on, like finance needs TLC and whatnot. Also, you talked about building from looking at our budget. So our recent budget identified 5.5 million structural operating deficit that we are currently covering by spending down our reserves. Simultaneously, we have a surplus in our building fund, but state law restricts how those specific funds can be used. And you talked about how you did something over there. Since we cannot legally transfer building fund money to bail out the general fund, what is your specific 12-month roadmap to close the 5.5 million operational gap before we hit the fiscal cliff in 2028?
Okay. Again, not going through every single details. Some of it has to be, tightening the belt. Making certain restrictions so that we can get to that point. But not only the 5.5, you have to look at your next year's budget. Your next year's budget is going to be higher than this year, just by function of inflation and raises and so on. So you have to be able to have a balanced budget moving forward as well. So I would be looking at how am I going to make the savings, not just on the 5.5, but a little bit more so we can have a little bit of leeway. And again, like I said, looking at how your funds are, your impact fees, all these things need to be visited. I don't know if we're doing it regularly, but again, based on your audited financial statements, those are issues that were not being looked at regularly.
Right.
In terms of your surplus, there are improvements, staff training and all these other things, and even rebates. I think the priority usually is you have to give a rebate back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if not, you do still need to, you can do certain things for the department that helps enhance the department's role, right? And therefore that helps your residents and that helps your community and they see a value in it, right? So you don't have to spend it out of the general fund. But again, not knowing specifically and sitting down with your finance staff and your building staff, I can't tell you like point blank, like each thing. But definitely I know definitely with inflation and all these things, you can't say we can't raise taxes, but it's not something that we can do. Even if you do property taxes, they're going to be touching your business tax receipts. There's a lot of things that are going to be touching. So we need to prepare for it.
Mm-hmm. Do you see anything specific when you talk about tightening? What do you see? Is that a loaded question?
I cannot presume to just make a blanket thing like that. But, again, at the end of the day, it's not going to be me. It's going to be you. I'm going to provide you with recommendations of what they are. and you as the council and the commission, I'm sorry, will determine what the priority is and what we need to be focusing on to get to that point. I will provide you with the options and you provide me with the direction.
Okay, so my next question is about our crown jewel, NMB Water. Is a regional utility acting as an enterprise business that serves far more customers outside the city than inside it. This creates a tension. Our residents want revenue transfers to keep their taxes low, while regional customers and regulators demand aggressive reinvestment in infrastructure. How do you plan to balance the capital improvement plan to prevent infrastructure failure while defending the utility against political pressure to strip its budget for general fund needs?
Part of that, I have to say, is on the council, the commission's shoulders in terms of policy and lobbying at the state level, right? To ensure that our rights are not being removed as it is right now. Just because we're one of the largest distributors of water for the outside cities doesn't mean that we have to be penalized for that. Definitely looking at the priorities in terms of what are the improvements that need to be done. I don't know if you guys have already worked on your PFAS issues. That's something that's been going on, but I'm not familiar with where you are on that yet. But there are funding opportunities for that, and more importantly, we need to look at how legislatively, even though I know you went through a lawsuit and a whole bunch of litigation and stuff, but to avoid that, we have to look at it at a policy level and look at it legislatively to make sure that our rights as a city are not being infringed.
Okay, thank you. Now, third question. I have a minute left. North Miami is a passionate group of commission. I think Commissioner Chernoff and Commissioner Smith also asked about this, but how do you see directives being taken? Okay, if the commission gives you a directive based on a narrow 4-3 vote, how do you ensure the policy is executed enthusiastically by staff without alienating 3 commissioners who voted against it?
So I guess the issue is personalities that are coming out. I'm trying to understand, because to me, if a directive is a directive, and even if it's a 4-3, a 5-2, or a 7-0, it got to be done. So I'm trying to understand, are we talking about personalities that are involved in the thing? All right. So that's part of, I guess, one of the things that I would do, and I did that also in North Miami, is training, right? Not only after we're done with determining what the strategic plan is and what we're going to be doing, I need to make sure that every single employee understands what the vision of the council and the city is and what the direction is. How do you behave? That's all part of it. However, they were doing it before, will not continue moving forward. This is a professional environment, a professional business, so therefore they need to come in professionally and do the work as passionately as they need to, because that is what the mandate is. So that'll be my responsibility to make sure that they do that properly. And again, if we're talking about personalities, then I have to work with the HR department, because then that will affect their performance.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so back in early 2023, we were having some issues with the CRA, and I reached out to you, and I want to thank you so much for taking time. You were not an employee, you were not subcontracted, contracted, anything. You just came and helped us, and I really appreciate your help and your input in your education.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you have probably worked with the last 4 city managers that we've had at some point or the other in your life. But like I said, well, what I didn't say is, and I feel like a broken record now because I've said this is my 3rd time saying it, I have been here on the commission for 7.5 years. I've been through 4 city managers. Whoever you yourself or the other candidates will make it 5. We've had 3 interim managers. Mm-hmm. So what made you decide to be in a job that statistically has no job security? And what makes you different? And what are you going to do? What's going to keep you here for 5 years?
Okay. I love these loaded questions. Is that my closing statement too? Or
No, yeah, there's actually a
can
second
it
round.
count as my closing statement?
But you can answer it later if
Okay,
you want.
well, thank you, thank you. I mean, again, the position of a city manager or a public servant comes with, the blessing of serving the public and the community and the world at large, but also the curse of, you're easily, pushed to the side and it moves on. I'm a passionate person. I'm very driven in terms of, when I see there are issues, I want to fix it, right? Maybe I'm ADD about it, but my passion is I want to help. I want to fix North Miami Beach. Something that Commissioner said earlier about the city. I was here in 2014 when Lorenzo's was still open, and we were talking about a train stop back there. It is now closed. You don't have a train stop, and Lorenzo's is still Lorenzo's but closed, right? When I'm looking at the Henford Boulevard, those are all things that we talked about before when I was here, and yet nothing has really moved. And for me, I want to see action. I want to see movement. And we're a city on the cusp of becoming an entitlement city, right? You're a few thousand residents short of 50,000. And so that gives you opportunities for more federal funds and other opportunities and resources. So I want to be there to guide the city staff and to guide the city, and with your direction, making sure that your vision of the city and with the community's input, where does North Miami Beach want to be in 5, 10, 15 years? Like the commissioner says, 100 years. I don't have 100 years in me left, but 5, 10, 15 years. Yes, I would like to be part of that team that's going to set the groundwork so that North Miami Beach can move forward and that you can all be proud. I mean, your positions are not lifetime positions either, but you live here. You've been here for decades. You want to be able to say, I did this, and I would like to be part of that. I don't just see, the finances and so on. Part of my my clients also, that's like when I say residents in the community or my customers, the employees, right? The employee relations, that is extremely important. Some places, they don't even see the staff as staff. They just see them as, there's a worker, we're getting paid minimum wage, just get it done and move along. I want to help them grow. And if not them, they're, especially if they're residents, right? You have a lot of people and they're residents. If their kids want to learn, they want to go to the training school and they want to learn and make this something that they're proud of. And that's something that I want to be part of. And that's really why I'm applying.
All right, thank you. So we're going to start a second round. We're going to start with Commissioner Smith.
Well, I want to thank you again for applying and for taking your time. And the main thing that I'm concerned about is time is so limited with the fact that we have a new election coming. And we don't know what that's going to project. So I would like to know some of your ideas besides the 90-day study, what you feel you can get off the ground that the public can not only see it, but they can feel the difference you made in North Miami Beach in the following year.
That's a very good question. One, your economic development plan, right? I did do a preliminary evaluation of the stats, and in terms of growth, there hasn't been that much growth in, the commercial sector of the city. I want to be able to help with that, but again, understanding what your Beacon Council and what your economic development department is working on is extremely key. I can help with creation of these programs that'll help your residents, whether they are, small business owners or patrons of small business owners. But until I've actually, seen and understand what it is that your plans are, what your CRA plans on doing, that's another issue. Your CRA is set to expire in 2028. What is the plan, and what do you intend to do? Because as far as the county is concerned, that not much has happened, right? And how do we flip that to make sure that the community sees that there's things happening? Some of it doesn't have to be tangible, groundbreaking things. It could just be the customer service that we provide them. It could be how we run our commission meetings and they're getting the answers that they need so they can see that the city's working. So some of that will be there are some intangibles and some tangibles that will happen. But until I know what your finances are, because one of the things that I will not do is I'm not going to spend money that you don't have. So I need to know what that is.
All right, Commissioner Flormond.
You talked about the employees and how important they are. They interface with our residents on a daily basis. How do you intend to improve morale and increase participation by employees? And when I say participation, that employees are fully engaged in the strategic plan that we have and understand what role they play in making sure that our organization improves and feel really proud of that. How are you going to work on that?
Well, again, and in North Miami, when they hired me, one of the commissioners, one of the things that comments that he made was he wanted to see that employees were not leaving at 4:50 every day, right? Because by 4:50, everybody's in the parking lot, everybody's in their car, and then they're gone because they're here just for the paycheck. He wanted to see that like employee morale. So a couple of things that I did. One of them was in terms of helping to build, because I think even in this city, they operate in silos. I've noticed, they stay in their departments and they're not communicating amongst each other. And if there's an issue, they're pointing fingers at each other, not trying to figure out how to solve the problem. So one of the things that I did over there was, and I think I had mentioned it to Commissioner Fleury-Mon, was I did the grill off, right? I did a barbecue competition, and I had departments against each other. And all they got was just bragging rights for a year and a tiny little trophy. And that started them just talking and working together, just the competition. And by the way, the city funds were not used for it. It was donated. But they enjoyed the banter. They enjoyed being able to talk to each other and doing that. And they wanted to do this on a yearly basis. So that was the first thing that I did, just so I can get to know the departments, get to know the employees and stuff. The second thing that I did, again, was, at 7 a.m., I'm in my office. Anybody can walk in. We started talking, and they would tell me what their issues were, whether it's with the supervisor or the system, or they had an idea on something that they wanted to fix, but they just couldn't get it moving up. So that helped a lot. The third thing I did was I worked with HR and looked at the benefits. What are the benefits that you're offering them to make it worth for them to stay here? I know you're now working on evaluating the FRS system, and that's extremely very good, because if you want to recruit good qualified people and have them stay, my recommendation, like we had discussed, is extremely important to be in the FRS system. So that helped as well. The other thing was a pay analysis, because a lot of people were complaining that they hadn't gotten raises in years. Some people get it and some people don't, but they wanted to see a broad change, and I did that. I even had to deal with the police union, their contract, and that was behind by 2 years. So when they had hired me, they were at an impasse and they were going to go to court. But again, sat down, we went through the whole process, and I explained to them, listen, I'm not trying to choke. I don't try to choke anybody. I want everybody to be taken care of equally. The residents, the community, the employees, but I'm not going to disadvantage one for the other. I want to make sure that everybody understands that. And that's what I've done. And lastly, what I did was we set up a lot of trainings. So after I had a strategic retreat with the council on the plan, my next 12 to 18 month plan, and they gave me the green light to operate, I started doing trainings with them, all the departments. And I was the one that did the training. So they were getting it from me. They were not getting it from their supervisors or anybody. They were getting it from me, and I was explaining to them why we're going to be going through this process. Why for the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to have to change how you were trained on issuing a permit, because the end result is, you know what I'm saying? It's not working. Now we're going to change it. We have to change the technology, or we have to change how you're answering the phone, because we were trying to change the culture that we have now. And that helped a lot. I have to say, even though I'm no longer in North Miami, sadly, I'm still getting phone calls and text messages from the employees that they still miss me. And that's because I gave them a way to communicate and tell me what the issues were. Now, I'm not the nicest person because at the end of the day, the job has to be done. So I will help you to do the job. But if you're not willing to do the job or make any effort to do the job, then it's a different conversation that you're going to have with me. So I'm extremely fair, but I'm also extremely firm.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Jean.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your expertise tonight. I think it's not necessarily a question, but more of a statement that you can maybe incorporate in your closing statements. So we have a lot of outside forces that are, trying to infiltrate North Miami Beach in different ways, be it political, different powers, or what have you. So wanted to kind of hear how you hope to navigate those things. Also, confidentiality and trust is a big thing with the commission. And like I mentioned to the previous person that was interviewing, I've spoken to different folks that your previous bosses as well, right? So there's always stories and truths and three sides to every story. So confidentiality, trust, and also those boundaries of those outside forces coming into the city. So I want to kind of hear your take on managing all that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for the loaded comment, I should say. Yes, I mean, I have to say that I even myself, I had some personal trust issues because it felt like, if I have a conversation with somebody and then afterwards it gets repeated, but the information is diluted, right? And that's one of the reasons why I'm really here and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak because I want to be able to answer all your questions. I've heard, I'm suing the city. I'm doing so many different things, which I'm not. Some of it also was, she took away my, my revenue stream, right? And I don't do anything intentionally. I just want to make sure I explain that to people. If you are here as a lobbyist, if you're here as a vendor, you follow the process and the council chooses to hire you, then that's great. But I don't have any, I don't have an angle. I want to get the job done. Now, if the recommendation is to hire, vendor A, however, vendor B has more resources or more benefits or better quality or something, I want to make sure that you're aware of it before you make that decision. I'm not trying to take away from vendor A, okay? I just want to make sure that as the decision maker, these are your choices, and they have a lot of benefits. I don't do rumor mills, and I have to say for the past 14 months, there's been a lot of that, especially as the way, I had to exit North Miami. But apart from what I said before, I don't regret the stuff that I did because the improvements were there. Results were there. They had 2 clean audited financial statements without a deficit or a mention of a deficiency. So the work was done. I will make sure that when I have my discussion with my commission members individually or together, what is told to me stays with me, and I work with that. I think one of the challenges is when you have exactly what you said, outside people making comments or conversations. And I think I had mentioned it to somebody one time. I says, if you have something to say to me, don't go via a third party. Tell me. I don't take things personally because I know this is work. This is a professional job. So, except unless you go into my personal, mention my family, my mother or whatever, right? If not, then it's a professional position, and therefore I'm not going to take it personally. But I would rather you come to me and say, hey, Rasha, I didn't appreciate you saying this or you doing this because this doesn't help me, right? As opposed to getting 3 different conversations in 3 different ways where, so.
Commissioner Sue?
Thank you so much. Okay, so just to piggyback off of this, what we were talking about before with the 4-3 and whatnot, the city manager has an authority in our city of $50,000, right? The authority to approve. Do you think that amount is too much or too little?
I guess it's about average for, especially with inflation, for the cost of getting things done. When I was in North Miami, it was at $25,000. But your challenge is you have 1 monthly meeting. And because if you have 1 monthly meeting, you have a lot to pack in. So being able to get a lot of things done, it would limit the operations part of it. But I was doing it in North Miami under the 25,000. So, but now with inflation, things are more expensive. So 50 would be about average of what it is.
Okay, then the question next would be, if you disagreed strongly with the commission or the mayor on certain things of a spending that was within the authority, how would you handle that situation?
I'm trying to understand.
So you have an authority of $50,000. There was something that maybe it doesn't necessarily have to come to a vote if your approval is there. So my question is, if the mayor or commissioner came to you and said, hey, I'd like to approve this, and you disagreed with it, how would you handle that situation?
Okay. In terms of, so you want me to approve from as my position. However, you, if I'm correct, you as the commission, you have your own spending abilities, correct?
Not 50,000 though.
Not 50,000, but you want me to approve something for you. Let's just use you as an example.
Yes.
And I don't agree with what you need me to approve.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a one-on-one conversation with you in terms of the rationale for it. I'm not going to do anything that's unethical, or I look at everything in terms of, are we going to pass audit, right? Are we going to pass the public records request? So to me, if you're asking me to approve something that's not within my purview, but you'd like me to do it for you, I'm going to have the conversation with you and say, I can't, because, public records and audit. Everything I do, I make sure that I do it to pass the audit.
It's not for me in a new dress or a new car or anything, but it is actually something that the city uses.
Well, that's different then. Then I mean, my point is, then I wouldn't really disagree. So I was trying to understand that part.
Okay, but
So-
this is where I said where it's something that the city uses, but you disagree. That's why I wanted to see how you handle it.
Yeah. I mean, because again, if the city uses it, it's something, if I disagree, that's some personal opinion, right? So I'm not going to put my personal opinion into it.
Would you have that item go through procurement?
I mean, your procurement law says that that most of the things have to go through procurement. So yeah, it would have to go through procurement. I mean, you have certain exceptions, and I'd have to ask what they are. I know, I think marketing and special events, I think, don't go through procurement, but most of everything else have to go through procurement, if I'm not mistaken, unless you have an emergency and a single finger thing.
No, I have 2 minutes. No, thank you. I'm done. Thank you. I yield my time.
Commissioner Chernoff?
Since you've had so many hardball, this is a softball question. What question should we have asked you? And if so, answer it.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you ask everybody else that? Did you ask everybody else that?
No,
No?
he's not being fair.
No? Did you ask everybody that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Is there any question we should have asked you?
Well, I mean, any issues with my termination in the city of North Miami? Because I know a lot of people had a lot of questions about that. So, I mean, to be clear, yes, I was terminated by council without cause, so I did get a severance. No, I am not suing the city of North Miami. A few residents are suing the city in terms of sunshine and charter violation, but it's not me. I don't need, the minute I got my severance, I've moved on. I have no ill will against anybody. I just want to work, and I would rather just leave that behind me and move ahead.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for applying, and we wish you good luck, and we'd like you to do a closing, a 1-minute closing
Oh, goodness
statement.
gracious. Wow. No. And I know we all want to go, right? Is it really 9 o'clock? It's 8:54. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, can I say, if I am hired, one of the promises is that your commission meetings will not be till midnight? Is that something?
Okay, she's hired.
Right? Yeah, right. So, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I, you know, coming back here would be not only just a dream come true, but when I first started here, Roz hired me, and then I worked under Anna Garcia, and I worked in the manager's office on special projects and your CRAs and everything. I was really just starting to grow into my management, right? Um, and it was wonderful. Um, Being able to then take that to North Miami, and again, North Miami, they were going to their CRA was going through a grand jury investigation and so on, and that helped me again to be able to see the systems and fix what the issues were, so they can grow to be the organization that they are now. Coming back here would, I don't know, it would be like a welcome home kind of celebration, and if you put your faith in me, and your trust in me, I would do my best to ensure that the city's, a couple of things that I've heard from some of your employees was, leadership and structure, the need for leadership and structure. Bless you. And I want to be able to provide that. I want to be able to have your residents not come in your public comments and talk about items that are, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be that difficult, but the items that they should be able to understand clearly. One of the items that I saw one time was the trolley, right? It was an item on the agenda, and somebody was coming because they were removing it or not, and the item was not even referring to that. Your finances. Oh my goodness. I would love to be able to be the person to help you to lead your department into, not only correcting it, but being able to see the vision for the future so that you can redevelop, yes, you can't get the train stop at this point, but that site where Lorenzo's is, your whole corridor needs to TLC. It needs to be redone. The TICO site, all of that was there when I was here in 2014. And it feels like North Miami Beach has been in a haze or a standstill. And I'd like to be that person to help you move ahead and move along, so that when you do retire, you can say, I was part of the team that helped the city move along.
Right.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you so much. All right. So we are meeting again tomorrow at 6. We only have one candidate, so we should be done before 7 o'clock. And we have, then after tomorrow, we vote on this January 20th. Is that the commission meeting?
January 20th at the next commission meeting.
Vote, and right now I would love to vote for all three of you. You were all amazing, so thank you to all three of you. You did a wonderful job. We really appreciate it, and thank you for the public that came out. And we couldn't have done it without Kazan picking those names out of the box. Thank you.
Before you thank you, Madam Chair, can I be recognized? The voting process, do we need to, how is that is that gonna be a call? Is that gonna be, can
You have
HR?
a fixed one. There are a number of ways that the commission can conduct the
I
vote.
think a ranking would
And
help
you have
us.
to decide
No?
which method you're going to use before you take the vote.
So can we do that tomorrow? Since
No, it's a workshop.
Can that
no,
be,
no, no. I mean, can we decide tomorrow how we're gonna vote?
We can discuss it.
No.
right? We can
Discuss
discuss
it.
how we're
can
going
it be an item
what
on
we
the,
want to
can it be an
do.
item
Why
or?
can't we-
Noticed as an interview.
For the
So
manager.
you have a workshop, you have an interview.
So
You
we cannot
certainly have the
discuss.
privilege of deciding how you're going to conduct the vote,
Yeah.
but you can not.
We're not picking it.
collectively
No, I
discuss that.
just want to decide how we're gonna decide. How we're,
Well, two points. How
I'd
we,
be happy to talk about it with you off the
Mr.
dais, Vice
Attorney.
Mayor, but the bottom line is, I'm sorry, yes,
how we're gonna decide, but also wanted to know, I think, Vice Chair mentioned next meeting we will be making a selection. So if that's the case, would that be an agenda item? Would that be a special meeting? I mean, that's what I'm trying to
there's
figure
nothing
out.
that prohibits there being a special meeting.
Right.
If there is one, okay. If there is not, then at the meeting, when you're going to have an agenda item to select,
Right.
the first thing you would discuss would be how that selection will take place. And you have broad discretion within the bounds of the law, such as there is no such thing as a secret ballot. Everyone's vote is public. Everyone's vote is transparent and made known to the public. But with the exception of a few legal requirements, how you choose to make your selection is a matter that you have broad discretion. And unless there's a special meeting, which to talk about that process, which there could be, but I don't want to presume it. We're getting pretty close.
Right.
If there's not, then the first thing you'll talk about is, well, how are we going to take this vote?
So can we add that to tomorrow's
No,
workshop?
ma'am.
Can we add that to
Not
the
noticed to
agenda?
that, and
To
it's
the
not.
agenda.
I
Not-
understand that. If you're asked, okay, listen, you can do anything you want to. I've given my advice. I don't think you can, but I'm not the boss of you. It's vice versa. If you decide to do it, you do so, but I recommend that you do not. But that's just advice. That's all I have is advice to give you, and you are the decision makers, not me.
So I would want to mention to the clerk to add an item to the agenda that's either in the first order of business that we conduct
At the top of the agenda.
at the top of the the top of the agenda. At our
The
regularly
commission
scheduled commission meeting.
on January
That is
20th.
a very appropriate thing for you to do.
To decide how to vote and then to vote.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
at that meeting.
That's
Yes.
discussion, not
That is
consent
entirely,
before.
but it can be as a separate agenda item. It's a very important decision, and directing that it be the first item of business at the meeting that's going to be
The first
taking
item of business would be to discuss how to vote, and after we discuss how to vote, then we will vote.
Well, you could do it 20 minutes later, an hour
All right,
later.
but
You
I
could do
just
it.
want to make sure
You-
that we know that both things will be on the
I
agenda.
will remind you that you vote to set the agenda.
Okay,
So you can take up the actual vote at any time that you set it on the agenda, but if you want to have the discussion and decision about how you will vote be the first item of regular business, you can certainly direct that and get that out of the way. And then beyond that, if you move to an immediate vote or get to it in legislation or take it up, there is nothing that will stop you from setting the agenda in whatever manner that you decide to do it.
do I hear a
Your-
motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion to
Can I,
adjourn.
second.
can I motion?
Happy New Year, everybody.